Let's talk about the super wide thin a little bit. We're cutting 18 feet. And our conventional stock setup is we're laying down 8 foot. And that comes out to about 65% of the cutting width. To get a little thinner crop mat in the effort to improve dry down, we're going with this fin setup, and you can see the 4 fins in here right now placed in the swath board. You'll also notice that the swath doors have been removed, and also the swath board end covers on the left and on the right are removed. Then you have to drill 6 holes in the swath board. 2 holes are already there, so you need a total 8 holes to bolt on the 4 fins. There's 2 left-hand fins, which are 1 part number, and there are 2 right-hand fins, a different part number. So for a couple $100 that you can put on the 4 fins. We're early in the stages with experimenting with fins. It's very possible that you could customize the way the distribution of the hay is within the swath by adding more fins or adjusting the angles to different holes to suit the crop you're in and your personal preferences. Right now we're starting with 4, and we have about 11-foot swath, which is a little over 80%, which is pretty darn good. In order to be qualified as wide thin, most university experts, I believe, will agree that 75% is a good number to work with as far as percent of cut width. Now let's talk about dry down and why the super wide thin might have a little more advantage. This is a conditioned alfalfa right here. First we'll talk about the machine settings itself and then how the plant dries. What we want the machine to do with the roll is we want to have it crimped, which you see here, which happens when a crop goes over the lugs. And then if the roll gap is about the thickness of a quarter or 65 thousandths, it will go through there and it will make crushes like this in between the crimps. And those crushes add additional dry down. If the roll gap gets a little wide on you, like your machine is used and it's been out there a while, and the rolls wear back a few thousandths, you'll still have the crimping, but you'll lose that crushing. So it's vitally important to get maximum dry down speed when conditioning, that you have the roll gap set down at least thinner than the stem of the alfalfa. A lot of the alfalfa runs about 100 thousandths, so when you get down to 65, you've got a good ability to crush and to crimp. This is an advantage of the rubber conditioning roll over a machine that just has a crimping ability. Crimping ability gives you this effect, but the crushing is what makes the New Holland roll special. When the crop comes through the rolls, it comes through the rubber, which is very soft compared to neoprene or some other products or steel. So if you're a leaf and you get caught on that crimp coming through, the rubber is soft enough that it's going to be a lot more gentle to the leaves. That means that we can crimp down and crush down harder without hurting the leaves, and that's where this roll with the rubber, even though this costs more than a lot of other products that we could use, the rubber is going to give you the best ability to get the fastest dry down without hurting the leaves. Now, with the crop laying on the ground after it goes through the conditioning process, the top 15% of the dry down, a lot of people will say that it goes out the leaves. In order for the leaves to open the pores and let the moisture come out, they have to see the sunlight. So plants that are laying like this can see the sun, or plants that are underneath are in more darkness and they may not open up as wide, and they're going to take longer to dry. So if you're making a windrow that's getting deeper, it's dark underneath, and that's why it doesn't dry down there as quickly as it does on top. So the concept of the wide thin is to lay it out wider to get a thinner crop in. Another advantage of wide thin is if the crop is lighter, it floats on the stubble, and you can get air circulation underneath. For a heavy windrow, the weight of it pushes down into the stubble, and you can pick up more ash or more dirt down there, and it's dark down there. The stomata can't see the light, and it gets very humid and dark and doesn't dry. So for going for haylage at 65%, a lot of times with the windrow or narrow, you will see that it's dry on top, but on the bottom it would be very wet. So going through the chopper moisture sensor, it may read 63%, which is a good number, but really you got 70+% on the bottom and maybe 58% or something on the top, and that's not ideal. Going wide thin, most of the crop gets closer to the same moisture, which will make a better fermentation for you. And the other important thing to think about is we're cutting at about 9:30 this morning. This is a good time to cut because we have all day to hit the maximum heat that we're going to get today to dry this down. Once this alfalfa hits the ground, it's cut off from its root system, and it's still alive, and it's burning up the carbohydrates and all the energy in the plant to keep itself alive. So the quality of the plant is declining as we sit here and talk about it. So the sooner I can get this to harvest moisture, the better. To stop the respiration, to stop the plant from eating up all that milk making horsepower that's in there. So when we go wide thin, what we're trying to do is to get the crop drier. So we cut this morning, get to 65%, chop the sack, get all of our hay off today, and all our silage. So that's why the wide thin is a lot of interesting. Setting up the machine once more, you can set it up to condition or not condition. If you want to set it up in the not conditioning format, you open up the rolls by turning that bolt clockwise 6 turns, and that raises the upper roll up for about a half-inch gap, and another bolt on that side, raise it up 6 turns clockwise, and pull that side of the roll up. It's important to count the 6 turns accurately, because when you want to go back to conditioning, you want to go back exactly 6 turns. If you're off 1 or 2 flats on that turn, it's going to make a difference.